My name is Danny Ricketts. I'm a longtime history buff of Danville and Pittsylvania County. In December 1888, a former Massachusetts soldier came back to Danville. He photographed some of the things that were burned in his memory during the hard times when he was in a Confederate prison here 23 years before. His view of the Highland Tobacco Factory at the corner of Union and Spring Streets was probably much the same as it was when he was here during the war. The four-story building was used as prison number 3 to confine hundreds of U.S. soldiers. The prisons were on the upper 3 stories, and the Confederate guards occupied the lower floor. Another of his photographs is a view across the river. The large 3.5-story building on the north bank of Dan River is an old water-powered grist mill. Thomas Worsham and Richard Yarborough built this mill in 1833. This soldier also photographed the Reverend George W. Dame on the front porch of his house on Calhoun Street. On the bottom he wrote, "Reverend George W. Dame, a prisoner's friend." Dr. Dame came to Danville in 1840 and established the Episcopal Church here. After the war, many of the prisoners wrote about his kindness and dedication. Dr. Dame was born in New Hampshire and was a friend to both sides during the war. He supported the Confederate government, but had compassion for all involved in the conflict. He and his church donated the church bell for Caston County during the war. In 1864 and 1865, he ministered the gospel daily to thousands of Federal troops who were confined in 6 tobacco factories. About 1,300 Union soldiers died and were buried near the hospital complex on Lee Street, near Dame's home. Each day he would place the name and military unit of each soldier on a wooden cross to mark their graves. Because of his efforts, most of the soldiers were identified. The federal government established the site as a national cemetery in 1866 and provided permanent headstones for each soldier. Dr. Dame ministered in Danville for 55 years before he died in 1895. He lived a life of care and concern for other people. He demonstrated true Christian principles.